Good morning, students. This particular lecture is specially meant for BA Part 1 English Literature students, and this is from your Paper 1 Poetry and Drama. This particular poem, Pulley by George Herbert, as we had already discussed it earlier. So today I will be giving you an analysis of the Pulley by George Herbert. So I'll just read out this note to you. The Pulley by George Herbert is a religious, metaphysical poem which centers on the pulley as a prime conceit in the poem. Due to its conceit, uh, it's considered as a metaphysical poem. Herbert wants to unveil the truth that why human beings are so restless and unsatisfying despite having all the things he wants. After God made this universe, he gathered all the blessings of the world in a glass and distributed them to the human beings one after another. First, he gave the strength. Therefore, human became strong enough to survive. One by one, God gave them the beauty, wisdom, honor, pleasure, and many other blessings. When almost all was gone, God kept rest at the bottom of the glass. Now, this is something very remarkable. Thinking that both should losers be if the rest is given. Now, that is quite obvious. If human beings are given rest, they would never, they would never feel restless and they would never pray to God. So, when they get all they want in the sense of sufficiency, they may forget God. On one hand, when human beings get rest, they forget God and take a rest. So, as a result, God will lose the love and affection of human beings. On the other hand, when the rest is given, people will lose strength, honor, wisdom, and beauty, and all other human capacities. God knows the man is that the man by birth is prone to lethargy. They will get rest at the cost of the progress. Progress and the rest never come together. We get one losing the other. God is sure that man will only praise Lord if he feels restless. So if everything is given to him, then why will he pray to God? So that is why rest was kept on the bottom. Mankind will lose their essence, get tired, and wander in search of rest. In the concluding part of the poem, Herbert gives two reasons behind human going to God. First, they will go to God out of the goodness, faith, or divine emotions and inborn loyalty for Him. Secondly, if they do not go to God out of the first cause, they will go to Him when they are tired and restless. So, weariness takes human beings to the shadow of God. So, the God decides to keep the mankind away from the rest as to make him feel the eternal rest can only be found in God. For the sake of the rest, at least man will remember to God and go to him for his love and rest. The repining restlessness of the discontentment with the worldly things will finally lead a man to God. He wanted man to discover the real rest only in him, that is God. He alone can truly give the mankind the rest they frenetically seek. The poet answers in a simple tone that the reason behind man being so unsatisfying and tired is that God has not bestowed us with his precious jewel, that is rest, but kept the jewel rest with him. So for the sake of rest, we always run from here to there. We think now we are complete because we have everything. But the moment we feel so, another moment we feel empty and become restless. Now, this is the modern condition of human beings. One after another, they need everything. They are restless. This is what exactly God wants us to be. If this happens to us, then only we remember God and go to Him for the rest. Now see something about the title of the poem. Why Pulley? The title of the poem Pulley is a conceit that claims the theme of the poem. Already, when I have given you the poem, there is a picture of Pulley, so that becomes quite clear. In Pulley, from the mechanical point of view, to operate it, a kind of power and force has to be applied to one end to lift the object of the other end. The force applied makes a difference to the weight that is being lifted. The rest that God keeps with him is the leverage that draws the mankind towards God. So, two quite different objects are forcefully compared here, one from the pure physics, that is Pulley, and the other from the pure religion, that is God. So, the relationship of man and God is compared with the metaphorical pulley. To pull mankind back to the God, back to the origin, God keeps man away from the rest. This can only be possible in the metaphysical conceits, so the title is thematic. The Pulley by George Herbert, it's a short poem, is a 4-stanza poem that is separated into sets of 5 lines or quatrains. Each of these quatrains follows a structured rhyme scheme. They conform to a pattern of A B A B A, alternating and end sounds as the poet saw. The consistent repetition in the rhyme helps to give the poem an overwhelming feeling of unity. This makes sense as the eternity of this piece is dialogue spoken by God or about God. A reader should also take note of the moments of repetition in the starting words of the Pulley. There are few moments in which these words rhyme. One notable instance is stanza 2 with the words then and when at the beginning of lines 2 and 3. There is also an example in stanza 3 with so and bestow in lines 2 and 5. In regards the meter, the lines are also very consistent. The first and fifth line of each stanza conform to a pattern of iambic trimeter. This means that there are 3 sets of 2 beats per line. The first of these is unstressed and the second stressed. The stresses remain the same in lines 2, 3 and 4, but they mostly contain 5 sets of 2 beats. This means they are written in iambic pentameter. The regularity of the rhyme scheme in tandem with the meter give the poem a very structured feeling. A reader learns what to expect from line to line, and at least in regards to structure, there are no surprises. So, if I give you the summary of the Pulley, it will be like this. The Pulley by George Herbert speaks on one of the Christian creation story in which God chose to imbue humanity with blessings. The poem begins with the speaker stating that he is retelling the story of creation. He is particularly interested in the part where God gives humankind knowledge, wisdom, beauty, and strength. These are important features of human existence that flowed easily from God to humankind. There is one blessing that God did not let out of his cup. He chose to withhold an innate ability to rest from humankind in order to keep his creation close to him. When one gets weary, they turn to God, or that is his reasoning. Herbert's speaker states that God did not want humanity to love nature than they love the God of nature. Now, just to give you the analysis stanza wise, in the first stanza of this piece, the speaker begins by describing the creation of humankind. Herbert's speaker is seeking to retell the Christian story of creation with a few added details. The speaker is able to describe what God was thinking and feeling when he decided to make humanity. God saw what he had made and decided to pour a glass of blessings on humankind. These blessings were just standing by in a cup waiting to be used. This speaks to the ease of God's access to forces separate from human understanding. This fact will become important later on in the text when God decides to withhold a blessing without a second thought. The speaker relays God words at the moment as he addresses all of creation. He decides to pour on humankind all that we can. The world's riches, everything from strength to beauty, is bestowed. They have come together into a span. Stanza 2. The first of the blessings in the pulley that came to humanity was strength. It made a way. Next came beauty. It was soon followed by wisdom, honor, and lastly, pleasure. These are all incredibly important parts of the human experience. There is one more element, though, that in this retelling of creation, Herbert Speaker chose not to include, that was rest. Now, rest as a blessing equal to beauty and strength is interesting. It is not something that one might immediately think of a future of life that he be given or granted. But in this narrative, it is the treasure that remains at the bottom of God's cup. He chooses not to give it to humanity. His reasoning behind this choice is contained within the next two stanzas, that is stanza 3 and 4. Now, coming to stanza 3, in the next 5 lines, the speaker describes how it was God's choice not to bestow rest on humanity. He knew that if he did so, he would adore my gifts instead of me. Herbert Speaker thinks that God made his choice because he didn't want humankind spending their days worshipping nature. Instead, they should be appreciating the God of nature. Rest is not something that is an integral part of human life, and God made and informed, at least to him, choice to withhold it. Now, stanza 4. In the final lines of the pulley, the speaker finishes up God's reasoning behind his choice not to give humanity a complete life of rest. He doesn't want humanity to never rest, but there should be different periods. It is idle for everyone to rest until they feel restless. Then they should get back to their lives. God believes that if there is weariness in one's everyday life, then that feeling of exhaustion will toss humankind to his breast, that is, towards the God. So, these different periods of activity, exhaustion, rest, and rejuvenation are just as integral to human existence as our strength and wisdom. It seems that Herbert's God has chosen to add them for a reason that appears entirely selfish, though it is not clear, at least through these few lines of reasoning, how weariness helps humanity aside from forcing them closer to God. But certainly, to some extent, when man feels restless, it is at that time he remembers God. So, now just to read few lines. Now I see the picture has been shown here to you. Having a glass of blessing standing by, let us, said he, pour on him all we can. Let the world's riches which dispersed lie contract into a span. So strength first made a way, then beauty flowed, then wisdom. These all things are given by God to human beings. Wisdom, honor, pleasure. When almost all was out, God made a stay, perceiving that alone of all his treasure, rest in the bottom lay. So in that cup, he has kept rest at the bottom. For I should, said he, God said, bestow this jewel also on my creature. When would he give? He would adore my gifts instead of me. If I give him, in advance, then he would not worship me, he would not adore me. And rest in nature, not the God of nature, so both should losers be. Yet let him keep the rest, but keep them with repining restlessness. Let him be rich and weary, let human being be rich and weary, that at least if goodness lead him not, yet weariness may toss him to my breast. So, I just come to an end. I just come to the end of this lecture. So, thank you, students. Thank you for your patience.